What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Play Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 Part 1. This is the very first Sonic game to be an exclusive digital download, which means there is no physical copy of the game anywhere. It's all on a digital store, I guess you could say, like the Wii store, the PlayStation Network store, Xbox Live. I guess it was the WiiWare, I believe it's called. This is also the let me try to find my notes here a second. Yes, this is also the first 2.5D game on the next gen, and I guess you could also say this is the first 2.5D game. It's not quite 2D like the old Genesis games were. This is more of a 2.5D, and this is the first exclusive 2D styled Sonic game for the next gen consoles as well, which I guess that third fact doesn't really matter since it's 2.5D. But anyway, so something I'm going to do early on here that I don't normally do, I usually save the options for the wrap-up video, but because this game is more the help and options menu is more geared towards new players, so I decided to go ahead and add to show those now. As you can see there, the main menu there. If you do not have a save file on there, you'll only see new game, help and options, and leaderboards. I'll talk more about the leaderboards during the wrap-up video, but for now, here we go. How to play. The typefaces included here are solely developed by Dynacomware or Cryware. The story for this game: evil genius Dr. Robotnik will stop at nothing to create Robotnik Land. He is changing animals into robots as he searches for the legendary Chaos Emeralds. Only Sonic the Hedgehog can stop him. World's fastest hedgehog and champion of justice, he can be impatient, but is also there to help those in need. A self-proclaimed evil genius with an IQ of 300, he will stop at nothing to turn the entire world into Robotnik Land. Okay, so the controls are left and right on the directional buttons to move left or right, and then the left analog stick to do those same features. Spin jump, you can either use the X button to jump or the circle button to jump. That is kind of a throwback to old Genesis titles where you could use two buttons to jump rather than just one. Defeat enemies by jumping onto them or using the spin dash onto them. You can perform a homing attack, which is actually that's also a first for the 2D Sonic games. In the old 2D Sonic games, the homing attack wasn't invented then, or back then. The homing attack was only thought up in Sonic Adventure, the first 3D Sonic game. To perform a homing attack, you can either press the jump. You have to press the jump button twice or circle button twice during a spin jump. I'm not sure if you can use hit the X button and then use the circle button. I haven't tried that out yet, but I will try it at some point during this playthrough. Spin dash. To perform a spin dash, you have to push down on the directional button or push down on the left analog stick, and then you have to hold those down, and also either hit the X or the circle button, and then release the down direction button or the left analog stick, whichever you prefer to use. So this is what the screen's going to look like, similar to, it's a little small, you can't really see it there, but I'll be able to point more out once I get to a big screen. You can see your score. This is a typical 2D Sonic game, Genesis style Sonic game, where the score and everything, how everything's placed, your rings, your time elapsed, and lives decrease with damage. You only start out with 2 lives, but you gain lives as you go along. There's 2 ways to gain lives. You can get 100 rings. Actually, 3 ways. Get 100 rings, and every 100 rings you gain, you will increase your life. No matter, even if you lose all your rings and have to gain them all again, doesn't matter. Which is actually a pretty rare in the Sonic series. You usually have to gain an additional 100. Like, you have to pass 100, and then you have to gain 100 rings more to be able to get 2 lives without losing a life or completing that stage or act. Reach the goal within 10 minutes or you will lose a life. That is something that is new to the next gen Sonic games. I guess not next gen, but the 3D Sonic games, you have never had to worry about a 10-minute time limit or a penalty for that. The only penalty that you gain is usually you either have a reduced time bonus or no bonus at all once you pass that 10-minute mark. But in this game, you will lose a life, so that does increase the urgency, but that also gives you a feeling of the old 2D Sonic games. So all of the old 2D Sonic games, you had 10 minutes to get through each individual act or stage, whichever it was called. Depending on the game, it was called different things. You had 10 minutes to get through those levels. If you didn't, you lost a life. The game over screen appears if you run out of all lives. If you run out of all of the lives that you have, it's typical in games. Rings, you won't lose a life if you take damage while you have rings. You simply lose the rings, something we've already known about. Once you pass the star post, you can restart from there if you lose a life. This style of star post began in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and every time they've used a star post, they've always used this style before. Item boxes return in this game. The old style item box is not in the 3D Sonic games, it's more like a capsule, but in this you can clearly see it's like a box. Smash item boxes to get the items. The items that you can gain is a super ring, which gives you 10 rings, power sneakers, and temporarily increases your speed, something that's we've seen in most every Sonic game. Shield protects you from enemy trap, not something you normally see in the later Sonic games, but you've seen it in the later 3D titles, but in the earlier 3D titles, the ones that were on the Dreamcast and the early GameCube games, you see that a lot more. Invincibility shield, something as well. I believe you see the invincibility shield in Sonic 06, but you really don't see it after that. 1-up increases lives by 1. You can also gain, as I said before, 100 rings to equals an extra life, or and there's also the third way. I will talk more about it once I start playing. Time attack mode, you can try a time attack after completing a boss. An act or boss battle, try to find the shortest route to finish in the least time possible. Your best records in time attack and score attack will be ranked against the records of either other players worldwide via the PlayStation Network. Now, the special stages, they use the special stage style from Sonic the Hedgehog 1, the first one. And what you have to do is you have to get to the goal with at least 50 rings and touch the large ring to start a special stage, which is just like Sonic the Hedgehog 1. Avoid the exclamation exit blocks that you can see here at the bottom right of the picture, and go for the Chaos Emerald, which you can see it near the top left of the picture. On special stages, you can change the controls to use the wireless controller's motion sensor function. From the help and options screen, select settings, give it a try for a different feel. Tilting the controller to the left rotates the screen to the left. Tilting the controller to the right rotates the screen to the right. I've never personally tried it out, but I will try it out when I get to my first. Once I get to the first Emerald. Controls, I already showed them off, the moving and the jumping and everything. The settings, pretty simple. You can either change the volume for the sound effects, and here's where you can change the special stage controls. You can either have the directional buttons or the left analog stick or the motion sensor. Like I said, I'll change that once I get into this special stage. So it's a good way to waste 8.5 minutes. So we'll start up a new game, delete all your saved data so far. Yes. Are you sure? Yes. That is good. A lot of the times they won't flash up 2 boxes to let you know, hey, you're about to screw your data up. Are you sure you want to do this? Most people that want to they know what they're doing, but there are those few times where you don't actually notice and you can get screwed over. Alright, so if you notice here, this looks a lot like the starting area for Sonic the Hedgehog 1 in Green Hill, and that the enemy, the badnik we killed was a Motobug. First appearance was in Sonic the Hedgehog 1. Let's see. Go along here, there's another enemy. Okay, that's the Chopper. First time we saw it was in Sonic the Hedgehog 1 as well. That is a Buzz Bomber. We saw those in Sonic 1, but this version is from the Sonic 2 version. Yeah, I guess I didn't write it down on my notes, but yeah, the version that they're using is the Sonic 2 version of the Buzz Bomber, which actually has a different name. I should throw a bit of something should flash up on the screen with the name of it in this that they use in this game. This game is supposed to be a sequel to Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Right after this events are what happens right after right after you destroy the egg, the death egg for the final time, and it's all destroyed and everything. And so they wanted to, since it was supposed to be a 2D Sonic game, and a lot of people didn't much care for the Sonic, the 3D Sonic games up to this point. What Sega wanted to do was to try to give the fans something that they wanted, something that was like the old 2D Sonic games. Well, because the graphics are a lot more better than the pixels from Sonic 1, that's why it's a 2D 2.5D game, but it's still classified as a 2D game, and a lot of Sonic fans actually like this. So that's a Newtron. First saw them in Sonic 1 as well. The blue things that we've been killing are called bubbles. We saw those in Marble Garden Zone at Sonic 3. All the other enemies outside of the bubbles we've seen and the Buzz Bombers we've seen in Sonic, in Green Hill Zone in Sonic 1. The Buzz Bombers, however, we saw in Emerald Hill Zone in Sonic 2. And I should be getting, here we go, here near the end here. So, and there's the big ring. You can see the signposts are very similar to the signposts from from the 2D Sonic games. Now, this is another way you can gain lives. If you have over 10,000 points, you gain an additional life, and that kind of gives you an incentive to either keep over 100 rings, or you can try to get the time bonus, which will ensure that you get over that amount of points. As long as you get a good time bonus, you will put yourself in a better position to be able to gain a life, and you definitely want to have a whole bunch of lives stockpiled for at the end of the game. And I'll talk more about that later. But for now, you can see this stage is played by using the left analog stick or the control or the directional buttons to rotate the screen. Pressing circle or X will cause Sonic to jump, spin Sonic through the map to get to the Chaos Emerald. So as I said, I will try out the motion sensors. Let's see, settings, control, no settings. Like I said, never tried this before, so I'll give it a try. Hope I don't screw myself over. But now this is something very important. You have the option to retry. The old 2D Sonic games did not actually give you the option to retry these Chaos Emerald, these special stages. So they were a lot difficult to go after. In the Sonic Ultimate Genesis Collection port of Sonic 1 and 2, you did have the option to load from a save file at any point in the game, so that made it a little bit easier. But the original Genesis cartridges, you could not retry or even load back and save, try to load back or save or load at any point in the game, so that made them a lot more difficult to go after. This still isn't a cure-all thing. There, a lot of the times you just will end it so fast you don't have a chance to push the pause button and hit the retry. But it's definitely, I'm glad that they added that. It definitely makes it a lot easier. Okay, so here we go. So all you have to do is just rotate. Yeah, that's weird. Like I said, I've never actually tried this before. I can't do this. But you can kind of tell what you have to do, and just you rotate the controller back and forth. I'm used to using the stick myself. That's how I like to do it, and it's a lot easier for me. But you can pretty much tell you do not actually move Sonic. You rotate the map, and that's what you did in Sonic 1. In Sonic 1, you had the exact same layout like this. You did not move Sonic around. All you did was just move the map, and you kept him off of things. Something different, though, from Sonic 1 is you have a time limit. And you can see those blocks that you have, the exclamation blocks that you have to dodge. Something different from Sonic 1 is you have these barriers where you have to collect rings. Well, in Sonic 1, the only thing the rings did was to help increase your score, which would have give you a life, or which would have give you a life and a continue, depending on how much score you had, and would have helped. Oh crap! Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit retry here because you can see I'm about to hit this spring. And what it will either do is it'll throw me into that other spring, which will shoot me up into the exclamation blocks, or this spring will just shoot me directly into an exclamation block. So so I'm just going to go ahead and hit retry here, just to be careful. But yeah, and in this version, you have a time limit, which is different between each special stage, and these ring barriers will have different amounts depending on the special stages as well. This is the first one, so this one is the easiest. Typically, in the Sonic series, the first Chaos Emerald is always the easiest to go after. You know, you may still have trouble here. It's not going to be that easy. You know, either way, this style of special stage isn't used all that often in the Sonic series, which I'm definitely glad, happy about. I'm not complaining at all. It's usually the Sonic 2 version, which is like the half pipe where you have to collect rings. You can see here we'll gain another 10,000 points, and we'll be able to gain a life. But the barriers, which wasn't used in Sonic 1, and the time limit, which wasn't used in Sonic 1 as well. So you have to watch out for those two things. You have to make sure that you collect enough rings to make sure that you don't have to waste time messing around with barriers. And you want to make sure that you are always watching for your time. So you can see here the gimmick in this level. Every level will have a gimmick except for the first one. In this level's gimmick is the vines. You can swing the vines by pushing left and right on the directional stick, or the left analog stick, or the directional buttons. Something that a lot of fans didn't like, however, is the homing attack, which I have nothing, which I like. It actually makes this game a lot easier, and that they, to use a gaming term, nerfed the spin dash. In Sonic 1, the best way to go up hills and things like that. That's a Newtron missile. That's something new that only this game used. Well, I think Sonic 2 made use of the Newtron missile, but it wasn't quite like that. They didn't just drop out of the sky on you and turn into a missile. They actually, what they did, they would be in the walls and they would drop from the ceiling and mess you up like that. But the spin, in Sonic 1 you would want to use the spin dash to get up walls and different things like that. Well, in this game, it's just a lot easier if you run, because they nerfed the spin dash a lot, where it's nearly unusable for gaining speed. It will actually slow you down a lot. So you just have to be careful and remember that, which a lot of the fans didn't like, which Sega fixed in later 2D Sonic games, as well as, but you can see you don't gain all that much time. Here's another chance for me to get a Chaos Emerald, and the homing attack. This is supposed to be like the old style Sonic games, and as I said before, the homing attack wasn't invented until Sonic Adventure and the 3D Sonic games, so a lot of fans didn't like that. I like it personally. It makes the game a lot easier. You can play well over 90, I would say 98. You can play well over 98% of the game without actually using the homing attack. So if you want to have that nostalgic experience, I guess, and not use the homing attack, you can very easily. There will be only a few areas in the game where, a few gimmicks in later levels where Sega made it where you force the player to have to use it, but it doesn't take away from the forgot about that one. It doesn't take away from the experience. It's just, you have to do it it's just what this game gimmick is, and I'll make sure to point that out. It's going to be in the next zone that we'll be going into, and I won't spoil it, so you don't have to worry about that. For every later level, for every special stage, you want to make sure that you have your finger on the pause button and just ready so that you can always hit it. For there, what you have to do is, you can see, if you notice the line of all of those rings, all you have to do is just follow each ring around with Sonic, and you'll be able to miss everything and go straight for the Chaos Emerald, which isn't that easy. Sonic has a tendency to want to go for the outside walls, so you do have to be very careful, and that's why you have to take it really slow. One thing that I can suggest is trying to stay off the springs. That'll definitely help you out along the way. It will, yeah, okay, so you can see right there, spin dashing, which you normally would do in Sonic 1. Well, in this game, it didn't do anything for you. So I'm glad I was able to show that off. Neutrons. Again, you saw those, their first appearance was in Sonic 1. Now, if you notice what I did there, I was right by the very edge, and I tried to use the jump dash move, and it ended up just shooting me off the, oh crap, off of the ledge instead of making me jump. That is something else that they added in this game, which they thankfully took out in later 2.5D games. Well, I'm just gonna call it 2D. In later 2D games that Sega made for the next gen consoles, but it does make it a pain to deal with. But you can actually use it to your advantage a lot of the time, and that will happen in later levels, which I will point out. But yeah, you can pretty much tell the enemy list. You've seen every enemy now. Bubbles. Most of these enemies are from, as I said before, are from Sonic 1. Newtron, Motobug, Chopper. The only enemies that are not from Sonic 1 are the Buzz Bombers and Bubbles. Buzz Bombers, again, were in Emerald Hill, the Emerald Hill Zone, and in Marble Garden Zone, which is from Sonic 3. Emerald Hill is from Sonic 2. But you can tell the gimmick in this one is those pulleys. Well, I guess they're more like zip lines. They're not really pulleys. And you can see there's a tin ring. We saw that at the beginning of the game. Trying to make sure that I don't miss anything. There's not a whole... there is actually a lot to show off and talk about, and I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. If you're trying to go after the... well, I guess a piece of advice, if you're trying to go after the emeralds early on, and you definitely want to, if you can very easily get all of the emeralds in the first 7 stages. If you do that, you'll be able to get all 7 of the Chaos Emeralds. But if you wait any later than that, you will have to you won't be able to get it, or be able to get the emeralds. You know, if you mess up even once, you will have to retry. Which, okay, so I keep forgetting about this one. This one's a time orient. You have to focus on time more than anything else. You just you can see the yellow Chaos Emerald there. The backgrounds, I haven't really been paying attention to the backgrounds, to be honest, so I'm not sure if the backgrounds will show what the emerald will be. So you can see here is an area where I did not collect enough rings to be able to get into this barrier. You can hear a tone once you pass it, or once you pass the barrier, however, which will make it a lot easier. But you definitely want to be very careful here. It's another area where you come on, get in there. No, I thought I was done. Okay. Keeping it tied up against the wall will definitely help you out. Try to stay off that spring if you can. There we go. 6 seconds. Yes. Done a lot better than my previous run. I ran through this game really quickly so that just to familiarize myself with this, because I wasn't too used to this game. I'd only played through the game once, and it was pretty hard for me the first time, so I wanted to make sure that I got used to it, and I failed on that Chaos Emerald. But you can see we have to fight Robotnik now. You can see that the game's music, or the theme, is a lot different, but this looks strangely familiar, something that we may have seen before. And what do you know? It's what was it? This is actually called Eggmobile with Wrecking Ball, or I guess I believe it's just Wrecking Ball. So you can see every enemy has 8 hits. The first 4 hits with this one, oh crap, are just like in Sonic 1, but then he'll change into that where he'll swing the ball around, which you can dodge easily just by getting behind him. Well, maybe not quite so easily. The only thing is you can attack anywhere on the Eggmobile that you want to. Most of the homing attack will always target the very top of the cockpit, however, which won't really throw you off a lot of the time, but it does make it a little bit more difficult, especially because there will be the second time that we face Robotnik, we will actually have to dodge a few things on him. But anyway, that's for another time. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. These will definitely be a lot shorter than what you're used to seeing out of my videos. I'll show that off as well. The special stages can now be freely selected, which is definitely a lot easier than actually having to go through and do the entire act and well, let me make sure before I say that. I believe you actually have to. Yeah, okay, so you still have to go through the acts and unlock them. But anyway, you can only go through a special state. You can only unlock an emerald once per act. So you can see here, I'll show off the splash zone. Since I've already got the red, blue, and yellow emeralds here in the first 3 acts, I can no longer try to go after Chaos Emeralds in these, so I'm going to have to go through and do these other areas. You see the Casino Street Zone, Lost Labyrinth Zone, and Mad Gear Zone, so I have to pick one of those levels to try to get the Chaos Emeralds. But anyway, I'll talk more about that later. Thank you for watching. Challenge of the video is, how many times did I get hit by a Newtron in this entire video? Thank you for watching. Until next time.